Good evening. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and our UNE students. It's my pleasure to convene our 4th annual University of New England George and Barbara Bush Distinguished Lecture and the presentation of the George Bush Award for Excellence in Public Service by the George Bush Presidential Library Foundation. I'm Dr. Jim Coble. I'm the Provost and Senior Vice President of the University of New England and the Dean of our new College of Dental Medicine. We thank everyone who's in attendance tonight, and we want to welcome all who are watching our webcast, including those at Texas A&M University, the Bush School of Government and Public Service, and the great nation of Qatar. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with the University of New England, we can't imagine that there's anyone, but for those of you who are, we are an innovative and expanding private university that is increasingly recognized for its excellence in medical and health professions education, its emphasis on the value of a traditional liberal education, and its continued growth as a leader in global experiences for both undergraduate and graduate students. The Chronicle of Higher Education has recognized UNE as the 9th fastest growing private nonprofit university in the country, offering master's programs. UNE has also been named to Forbes' list of America's top colleges for 2013, a list that Forbes says is based upon output and return on investment. And that places us in the top 7% of over 4,500 colleges nationwide in this category. We are exceptionally proud of our relationship with President and Mrs. Bush and the continued support we have received from Texas A&M University, the Bush School of Government and Public Policy, and the George Bush Presidential Library Foundation. You are all honored guests tonight, but I'd like to acknowledge several individuals in the audience this evening, and I would ask you, please, there is no need to stand, I will simply read your names. Mark Doiron, Chair of the University of New England Board of Trustees, and all UNE trustees who are present this evening. Jim Schwertner, member of the Board of Regents of Texas A&M University, and his wife, Patty. Greg Powell, Chair of the Harold Alfond Foundation and President and CEO of Dexter Enterprises. Governor Paul LePage and his wife, Ann. Peter and Rosalind Whalen, underwriters of the Bush Lecture Series. Ambassador Chase Untermeyer, the former ambassador to Qatar, here with his wife, Diana, and daughter, Ellie. Governor John Sununu and his wife, Ann. John is the former governor of New Hampshire and the former chief of staff to President Bush. And finally, Andrew Card, George Bush Foundation Board, former Bush School acting dean, and his wife, Reverend Kathleen Card. Now, it's my great privilege to introduce our next speaker, an individual whose dedication, enthusiasm, and vision have made UNE such a special place. She has that unique quality that inspires us to accomplish more than we think possible each and every day. By her example, she reminds us to honor our past, to remain fully engaged in the present, and to always keep our eyes on the future as we continue to turn our students' dreams into reality. As she begins her 8th year as president of the University of New England, please join me in welcoming Dr. Danielle Rippich.
Thank you, Provost Coble. And I want to add my welcome to all our friends, those gathering in Texas this evening, as well as those here with us tonight. It is also my distinct honor to welcome 2 outstanding Americans and true citizens of the world who work tirelessly to bring us all into a global society, President George Herbert Walker Bush and Mrs. Barbara Bush. Welcome. As always, I'm delighted to host President and Mrs. Bush. They have been great friends to the University of New England and to me personally. The Bushes embody what is best about our nation. Their devotion to family and community are of one indestructible piece. Mrs. Bush's commitment to literacy has inspired us at UNE to mount an exhibit on this topic in our Bush Library that bears both her and her husband's name, so I invite you all to visit that. We are, of course, like the Bushes, tremendously honored to welcome our very special guest, Her Highness Sheikha Moza bint Nasser. Salam alaikum. It seems fitting to me that the George Bush Presidential Library Foundation is giving an award for excellence in public service to this very exceptional woman. Her Highness has invested an enormous amount of energy in uplifting the fate of her nation and the Arab world. Her influence is strongly felt across a wide variety of fields, including healthcare and education, as you can see in the photos behind me. These are our vocations also at the University of New England. Our university could not have a better guest to inspire us as we start our new academic year. So I thank you, President and Mrs. Bush, for introducing us to Sheikha Moza. And I'm really pleased to also thank our friends from Texas A&M University. They are graciously allowing us to host an event that typically takes place on their campus. As I look at all of you assembled in this room, I can't help but be amazed about the power of education to inspire dialogue and peace. I know most of us care deeply about education, and it's actually the only reliable tool we have to lessen pain and raise the quality of life for people around the world. In the past few years, we at UNE have grown even more convinced that we need to take global issues seriously and use the best technologies to make our programs and philosophies available to students around the world. Our newest colleges in pharmacy and dental medicine are attracting students from many nations. We believe that's a good thing. We want students from other countries to come to Maine to study what is best about our state and our country. The United States may be a young nation, but we have a lot to offer in the modern world. We also want our American students to learn about the rich cultural legacies of other nations, and we have doubled our investment in courses with an international focus, sending UNE students and professors to the four corners of the globe. Last week, I was in the Moroccan city of Tangier to check on the progress of our first overseas campus. We chose to build on the Straits of Gibraltar so that our students will study at the crossroads of civilizations and cultures. And I was really pleased today to learn that Her Highness also has a home in Tangier and appreciates what a very special city this is that our students will be studying in. Our Tangier campus will be inaugurated on April 22nd, 2014, and you are all hereby cordially invited to join us in this very special event. We want to use this campus to educate, to inspire dialogue, and to debate ideas. Many of you may not know that Morocco was the first nation in the world to formally acknowledge the independence of our young republic. The first U.S. property abroad is actually in Tangier, the American legation. It was a gift from a Moroccan sultan to commemorate the two nations' friendship, the longest between the United States and any other country. Knowledge of our history can do much to help us understand that we are united by more bonds of goodwill than we often know. So President and Mrs. Bush and Sheikha Moza, you are in a place that believes deeply in your vision. Count on us to marshal all the powers at our disposal to bring our two worlds together. And I thank you for gracing us with your visit and allowing us to host this very special event this evening. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Bowen Lofton, the president of Texas A&M University.
Howdy. You've already figured us out. It's indeed a pleasure to be here tonight for this extraordinarily special event. President Ripich, thank you so much for introducing our topic tonight. This is a time for us to reflect on the contributions of a very special person in the Middle East, and also two very special people in our country, and their contributions to what we know in the future will be world peace. I also want to welcome those people back at my home campus watching us via webcasting as well. We're glad you're part of the event tonight. Texas A&M is uniquely in the middle of this situation here. We are home to the George Bush Library. We also have a great partnership with the Qatar Foundation, chaired by Her Highness Sheikha Moza. So we are perhaps uniquely qualified to speak to both of these extraordinary individuals and couples here that have put together this event tonight. We also want to thank Fred McClure and his foundation he heads up, which supports the library for their efforts today in putting this together. Two things have happened this year which are very interesting. The George Bush School of Government and Public Service has achieved a new record enrollment, and so has our campus in Qatar. So we think those are two very singular events that have some meaning together. At the George Bush School, we are training young men and women to take on roles in public service and also international affairs. And they're becoming quite a force, both in Washington, throughout the U.S., and around the world. In Doha, we are training young engineers who also will be a force throughout the Middle East and the rest of the world. People ask me often, why do we have a campus in Qatar? Well, certainly we were invited to be there. We were invited to be part of a great and noble undertaking called Education City, a vision of Her Highness. When she spoke about Education City, she said, and I quote, "It's there to equip young people with the skills and the knowledge to be global citizens and enable them to make the world a better place." So that's my answer also. Think 15, 20 years out. We're turning out about 100 engineers per year right now at our branch campus in Qatar. In 20 years, there'll be ministers of state, CEOs of major corporations, and they're also Aggies. And that means a lot. They wear the same ring I wear, and they think like we think at our university. They hold the same core values to heart, the same spirit of public service to heart, and they will change the political conditions we find in the Middle East, I think, for the better over time. That's just what they do. So we thank you, Your Highness, for your extraordinary vision in creating Education City, but also in inviting Texas A&M to be your partner in this great and noble enterprise. Now it's my distinct honor to also introduce the next speaker, a gentleman who has served his nation in so many ways, Ambassador Ryan Crocker. Ambassador Crocker currently serves as the Dean of the Bush School of Government and Public Service at Texas A&M University. He has held ambassadorships in Iraq, Pakistan, Syria, Kuwait, Lebanon, and most recently Afghanistan. Can you find a better series of places to be? You've been everywhere in the world where there's difficult times, sir, and you've served your nation with extraordinary distinction. It's my pleasure to bring you to the podium tonight to address this crowd. Thank you.
Thank you, President Lofton. There are those who would draw a connection between my presence and all the difficult things that happen in those places. It is my very great honor tonight to introduce formally Her Highness Sheikha Moza bint Nasser. President Lofton spoke of her role in creating Education City, in which we are a proud tenant. He spoke of vision. He spoke of looking ahead a number of years. I will be noting some of the specific extraordinary things that Her Highness Sheikha Moza has put into being. But they all stem from one single vision. Her Highness was a key architect of Qatar's national vision, a far-reaching agenda to transform Qatar into a thriving, knowledge-based society by 2030. And it is that vision that Sheikha Moza helped to establish that has been the framework that has brought coherence, order, and organization to all the many activities that she has spearheaded. Without that vision, articulated in a coherent framework, the impact of individual projects, no matter how great, is much diminished. Her initiatives enable Qataris to compete in the global economy while building strong families and communities at home. Sheikha Moza also is very active on the international stage, spearheading projects to promote peace and human development throughout the world. I can tell you that in addition to these extraordinary social, educational, and human activities, Sheikha Moza is also a major figure in the politics of the region. 10 years ago, almost exactly, I was a guest in the home of Sheikha Moza and her husband, the father Amir, and I recall to this day the hard lessons she gave me on what we had just done in Iraq. And now, 10 years later, just today over lunch, Sheikha Moza gave me some hard lessons on what we are doing and not doing in Syria. Your Highness, you are truly bipartisan. I'll just mention a few of the things that Sheikha Moza has accomplished and is accomplishing. She serves as chairperson of the Qatar Foundation for Education, Science, and Community Development, whose flagship project is, of course, Education City, 14 million square meters, with branches of renowned campuses, universities, and institutions, including, of course, our own Texas A&M. The Qatar Foundation is also engaged in a wide range of scientific research and economic and social development projects. Sheikha Moza also serves as the vice chair of the Supreme Council of Health, and from 2006 to 2012 served as the vice chair of the Supreme Education Council. In these roles, she has helped enact major top-down reforms of Qatar's public schools and healthcare system. In addition, she chairs the Sidra Medical and Research Center, a new training and research hospital that is a leading institution for women and children's specialty care. On a regional and international level, Sheikha Moza has launched multiple projects, including the International Fund for Higher Education in Iraq, the Silatech Initiative to address the growing challenge of youth unemployment in the Middle East and North Africa, and Education Above All, a policy and advocacy organization concerned with a single policy area, that of protecting the right to education in conflict-affected areas. And indeed, Sheikha Moza has just recently visited the Amazon Valley in Brazil, where she is now extending this initiative to the people who need it most, and doing so in a very creative and innovative way. Creation and innovation marks everything Her Highness does. She has played an active role with the United Nations for many years. In 2003, she was named UNESCO's Special Envoy for Basic and Higher Education. In 2008, she was appointed by the United Nations Secretary General as Alliance of Civilizations Ambassador, and in 2010, she became a member of the UN Millennium Development Goals Advocacy Group with a special emphasis on the second goal, universal primary education. I cannot begin to name the numerous awards Her Highness has received. They include the Chatham House Award for her contributions to improving international relations. She has been inducted into the Academy of Fine Arts of the Institute of France. She holds a degree in sociology from her own Qatar University and has been awarded honorary doctorates from Virginia Commonwealth University, Texas A&M University, Carnegie Mellon University, Imperial College London, and Georgetown University. In short, she is a shining example of the best we have to offer in service, in compassion, in vision for change, and the ability and energy to make it happen. She is also an example of what can be done in our world when society gives full opportunity to both halves of its population. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium Sheikha Moza bint Nasser. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Crocker. And sorry for the hard time that I gave you. President Bush, Mrs. Bush, and Dr. Ribbich, distinguished guests and friends, what a pleasure it is to be here among you in such spectacular setting. I feel certain that all the students of New England University are high achievers. No wonder why, because no one that would live in this environment would not be inspired by the beautiful surrounding. What an honor it is to have been nominated for the George Bush Award for Excellence in Public Service. I accept this honor on behalf of my nation and people in Qatar. Thank you. As Qataris, we have much to be thankful for. Our nation and our people have been blessed with many gifts. We have a globally recognized education system free for all our children, from preschool through to university. We are building a world-class health system. All our citizens can freely access health centers and hospitals, and today we are in the process of transforming all our hospitals into academic and research hubs. These investments are reaping rewards. Just last week, the World Economic Forum ranked Qatar first in the Middle East and 13 globally in their Global Competitiveness Report. His Highness, the Father Emir, planted the seeds of openness, creativity, and freedom of expression in our society. These are the seeds of prosperous minds that will continue to flourish generation after generation. Dear friend, President Bush, when you visited Qatar Foundation in 2003, our campus education city was still a work in progress. The idea of establishing branch campuses of renowned universities in distant land was a new concept. For many, it seems like utopian ideal. But not for visionaries like you, who could foresee and recognize the importance of such ventures for the present and futures for our nations. Since its conception in 1995, Qatar Foundation has been a crucial component in developing the talents of our young people and building a strong and sustainable economy for future generations. It embodies our determination to use our resources wisely and responsibly. Today, our campus covers 15 million square meters. Each day, it welcomes 5,000 students of 90 nationalities, from preschoolers to MBAs and postgraduates. Together, they study subjects ranging from medicine to Islamic law, from business to archaeology of the Arab world. Together, they help to design Qatar's future while building on our rich heritage in a spirit of openness and curiosity. Yet, despite all these blessings, the people of Qatar know that we must not be complacent or inward-facing. Our Muslim, Qatari, and Arab traditions demand that we continuously reinvigorate ourselves and reach out the hand of friendship and support to those who are most in need, to share our blessings with others and also with future generations. For me, this is the essence of public service. In today's interconnected world, our sense of responsibility must stretch beyond our own borders. Qatar Foundation strives to contribute in many ways to the development of learning, knowledge, and culture for the benefit of all mankind, whether it is through music, the arts, or scientific breakthroughs. But it is indeed for our world-class universities that Qatar Foundation is most renowned. And for that, we will always be grateful to centers of learning such as Texas A&M. In believing and for believing in our visions and joining us on our journey. President Bush, you have devoted your life to public and community service. And over the last 13 years, you have sought to recognize the efforts of others to do good. I know that Texas A&M has a special place in your heart. And I can tell you that its branch campus in Qatar is a great contributor to our socio-economic development, not only through the 300 young graduates, engineers, and 550 current students who are helping to build our nation's infrastructure and industry, but also by collaborating with our companies and our science and technology park. The university is helping to drive forward Qatar's national research capacity. The students and staff at Texas A&M in Qatar are also demonstrating the same commitment to improving the world that the Qatar Foundation seeks to embody. At the 10th anniversary celebrations of the campus in Qatar, Dean Wickhold presented me with a very special pledge. In it, the students and the staff commit their time, resources, and talents to support the Educate a Child program that I launched in Doha last year. Educate a Child is seeking to help millions of out-of-school children get into quality primary education. Educate a Child is working to reach the hardest to reach children. And it's hard to believe that there are still 57 million children in the world who cannot go to school. Each and every one of them deserves the chance to break the vicious cycle of poverty, conflict, or marginalization. The goal of Educate a Child is to help 10 million of these get into school over the next 3 years. I have seen for myself children living in the chaos of refugee camps in Kenya, children surviving in the floodplains of Bangladesh, children from poor families in the shanty towns of Rio de Janeiro. And just 2 days ago, I was with the indigenous children in the Amazon. These isolated communities are struggling to hold on to their identity and culture. At the same time, they are eager to connect to the World Wide Web. Their dilemma shows why it is so important to tailor our educational approaches and make them culturally relevant. Sustainable solutions need to be creative and innovative. I'm delighted that our students in Qatar Foundation are bringing their fresh perspective to help us create this new worldview. The greatest obstacle to progress would be to do nothing to improve the lives of millions of people who suffer disadvantage. Ladies and gentlemen, education is our key to changing the world. We need the skills and the willingness of able young people to unlock the doors of opportunity. President Bush, Mrs. Bush, on behalf of Qatar Foundation and people of Qatar, I warmly thank you for this award. Thank you very much.
Your Highness, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us and being with us this evening. We're so happy having you as our guest here in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Fred McClure, and I'm Chief Executive Officer of the George Bush Presidential Library Foundation. Since the award's inception in 2000, the foundation has taken great pride in recognizing individuals who have demonstrated outstanding public service with the George Bush Award for Excellence in Public Service. In 1997, President Bush underscored the importance of this commitment when he said, "Public service is a noble calling, and we need men and women of character to believe that they can make a difference in their communities, in their states, and in their country." With the President's words in mind, our Board of Directors established this award. When we established it, we did so with the firm belief that recognizing the outstanding performance and lasting contributions of the recipients served not only to highlight their achievements and President Bush's lifetime and legacy of public service, but would also serve as an incentive to all to take on the challenge of service to others. At the turn of the century, the first recipient was German Chancellor Helmut Kohl. The remaining 6 recipients have been Soviet Union President Mikhail Gorbachev, United States Senator Edward M. Kennedy, California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Reverend Billy Graham, United States Secretary of Defense Robert M. Gates, and the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. To each of these individuals, in their own unique ways, heeded the call of public service throughout their lives. Each of them assumed the mantle of leadership and remained true to the notion that public service, yes, is a noble calling, and each of them made a difference in their communities and in the lives of the individuals they touched. To recognize the 2013 recipient, please join me in welcoming to the podium the former First Lady of the United States of America, Mrs. Barbara Bush.
Thank you very much. On behalf of General Brent Scowcroft, who regrets he cannot be with us tonight, George and I are honored to present the George Bush Award for Excellence in Public Service to Her Highness Sheikha Moza bint Nasser. The 2013 George Bush Award for Excellence in Public Service is hereby awarded to Her Highness Sheikha Moza bint Nasser for her devoted promotion of peace and human development throughout the world. With a vision for a thriving economy based on the best of modernity and tradition, Her Highness Sheikha Moza encourages learning, development, and the empowerment of all young people to initiate change throughout the world. Her support of education and social reform has helped prepare her country to compete in the global economy while maintaining the deep cultural and religious roots that have shaped its heritage. Her Highness Sheikha Moza's belief in the character and potential of her nation's people is an inspiration to us all and a true example of service as a point of light. Your Highness.
Thank you, President and Mrs. Bush. Your Highness, congratulations on being the 2013 recipient of the George Bush Award for Excellence in Public Service. We are extremely grateful for your presence with us this evening. To President Rippage and the University of New England, thank you for your partnership with our foundation for this very special occasion. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, and those of you watching online, thank you so much for being with us. We're most grateful that you could share in this very special evening. Once again, please join me in congratulating Her Highness.